Hey, justice seekers. If epic tales of quiet comebacks fuel your fire, smash subscribe and let's balance the scales. Michael Thompson stepped closer to me in the courthouse hallway, close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne. The kind he only wore on days he wanted to feel powerful. "Today is the best day of my life," he said, his voice low and confident. "I am taking everything from you." He smiled as if the outcome had already been written. Behind him stood Emily Carter, his assistant, his lover, his victory trophy. She did not say a word. She did not have to. Her smile did it for her. Sharp, certain, cruel. People walked past us. Lawyers, clerks, strangers with their own quiet disasters. No one paid attention to the small war unfolding in that narrow hallway. Michael straightened his jacket and looked down at me the way a man looks at something already owned. "The condo is mine. The accounts are mine. You should have taken the settlement when you had the chance." I said nothing. That silence irritated him more than tears ever could. He wanted fear. He wanted begging. He wanted proof that I was already defeated. Instead, I stood there calm, hands folded, eyes steady. "You always were quiet, Sarah," he continued, almost laughing. "Quiet women lose in court. My lawyer is a shark. Yours looks like he should be retired." Emily shifted her weight and crossed her arms, flashing the bracelet on her wrist. The one he bought with money he thought I would never trace. Michael leaned in one last time. "After today, you will have nothing. No home, no leverage, no future." That was when my lawyer stepped beside me. Mr. David Reynolds did not raise his voice. He did not rush. He simply asked me one question. "Did you bring everything we discussed?" I looked at Michael for the first time and met his eyes. "Yes," I said, "exactly as you asked." Mr. Reynolds nodded once. Then he turned slightly toward Michael and spoke calmly. "In that case," he said, "I suggest you prepare yourself. Today will be educational." Michael laughed. He had no idea the lesson was about to begin. Sarah Thompson was never the kind of woman who filled a room with noise. She filled it with order. For most of her life, she worked quietly behind the scenes, making sure numbers lined up, bills were paid, and problems were solved before anyone else even noticed they existed. That was how Michael had always seen her. Useful, reliable, invisible. When people asked what Sarah did, Michael would usually answer for her. "She works from home. She does some accounting, nothing big." The way he said it made it sound small, unimportant, easy. In reality, Sarah handled financial records for 3 small companies, all from a laptop at the dining room table. She was the one who remembered tax deadlines, insurance renewals, and mortgage schedules. She was the reason their life ran smoothly, even when Michael forgot things. But because she did not wear heels to work or talk loudly about her achievements, Michael assumed she had none. After their marriage, Sarah had put her career on pause to support his. She moved when he needed to relocate. She took on more freelance work so he could chase promotions. She believed in teamwork even when the work was uneven. Michael mistook her patience for weakness. At dinner parties, he would joke that he was the provider and Sarah was the house manager. People laughed. Sarah smiled. No one asked who actually tracked the money or who made sure they stayed out of debt. Quiet people often see the most because they spend more time listening than talking. Sarah noticed when Michael started coming home later. She noticed when expenses went up without explanation. She noticed when affection was replaced by distraction. But she did not accuse. She observed. And in those small, silent observations, the real story of their marriage was already being written. The day everything changed was not dramatic. There was no shouting, no slammed doors. It was a quiet, rainy Tuesday, the kind of day that made the whole apartment feel smaller and heavier. Sarah was standing in the bedroom holding one of Michael's suit jackets. He had left it draped over a chair, wrinkled and forgotten. She planned to take it to the cleaners just like she always did. Out of habit, she checked the pockets. Michael had a way of stuffing important things everywhere. Business cards, flash drives, receipts. Sarah had learned long ago that if she did not check, something important would be lost. Her fingers brushed against a folded piece of thick paper in the inner pocket. At first, she assumed it was another business card. She unfolded it carefully. It was a receipt from a luxury jewelry boutique downtown. The total made her sit down on the edge of the bed. $5,000. The date was yesterday. The time was 2:30 in the afternoon. Yesterday at 2, 30, Michael had texted her saying he was buried in meetings and would be home late. He had promised they would watch a movie together that night. Instead, he had been buying jewelry. Her heart did not race. Her hands did not shake. What she felt was colder than panic. Sarah picked up her phone and opened social media. Michael had mentioned his new assistant once. Emily Carter, young, organized, always cheerful. It took less than 2 minutes to find her public profile. The most recent photo showed a perfectly manicured hand holding a glass of champagne inside a luxury car. On her wrist was a gold bracelet with a blue stone. The caption read, "Best night of my life." Sarah did not need any more proof. In that quiet bedroom, surrounded by the life she thought she had built, something inside her finally went still. The marriage was over, but the accounting had only just begun. Sarah did not cry that night. She did not wake Michael. She did not throw the receipt at his face or demand an explanation. She did what she had always done when something did not make sense. She opened her laptop. Emotions create noise. Numbers create clarity. That had been her rule since her first accounting class. She created a new file and named it something only she would ever see: balance. Then she began to work. She logged into their shared financial accounts first: credit cards, savings, mortgage payments. Michael had always believed she did not pay attention to those things. He thought money just appeared when needed. Sarah pulled every statement from the last 3 years. She saw patterns immediately. Small charges at first: restaurants, rides, gifts, then larger ones: hotel bookings, travel, jewelry, all during the times Michael said he was out of town for work. The math did not match his salary. Next, she checked her own records, transfers she had sent Michael every month to help cover household expenses. In the memo line, she had always written simple notes like rent or mortgage or utilities. It had never meant much to her at the time. Now, it meant everything. She created tabs. One for income, one for expenses, one for gifts, one for Emily. Slowly, a picture formed. Not an emotional story, a financial one. Michael was not just cheating on her. He was financing another life. Every dollar he spent on Emily came from money Sarah had helped earn or carefully saved. Their future was being used to decorate someone else's present. Sarah leaned back in her chair and looked at the screen full of numbers. This was not about heartbreak anymore. This was about restitution. For the next several weeks, Sarah lived in 2 different worlds inside the same apartment. In front of Michael, she was the same quiet wife he had always known. She cooked dinner. She asked how his day went. She nodded when he talked about meetings and travel plans. She even smiled when he pretended to care. Michael never noticed anything was wrong. In his mind, Sarah was exactly where he had left her in the background. But when he left for work or fell asleep beside her, Sarah became someone else. She turned the small storage room off the kitchen into a private office. That was where she spread out bank statements, receipts, and spreadsheets. That was where she followed the trail of money Michael had never bothered to hide properly. The condo was the first thing she checked. Years earlier, Sarah had received a large inheritance from her grandmother. Michael had convinced her to put it toward their down payment. He told her it was easier if it went through his account. She had trusted him. Now she traced every dollar. The money had come from her inheritance. It went to Michael's account, then straight to the developer. The amount matched exactly. Not a cent of it had come from Michael. The mortgage was no different. Every month, Sarah transferred the payment to Michael so he could press the final button himself. She thought she was supporting his pride. In reality, she was building her own proof. Next came the spending. Flights, hotels, jewelry, restaurants, all for Emily, all paid with family money. Then Sarah saw something that made her blood run cold. Large transfers to betting sites, thousands at a time, always after Michael got a bonus or closed a deal. He was not just careless, he was reckless. By the end of the month, Sarah had something far more powerful than anger. She had evidence, and Michael had no idea the clock was already running out. Sarah did not choose the first lawyer she found. She chose the one who understood strategy. A colleague from her old firm gave her a name: David Reynolds. An older man, quiet, precise, known for never taking cases he could not win. His office was small and lined with heavy books. There were no motivational posters or fake smiles, just shelves of law and the smell of old paper. Sarah placed her folder on his desk and began to speak. She did not cry. She did not complain. She told him what happened the way she would explain a financial report. Step by step, dollar by dollar, Reynolds listened without interrupting. When she finished, he opened the folder and started reading. Minutes passed in silence. He turned pages, studied numbers, compared dates. Finally, he looked up. "You did not come here for sympathy," he said. "You came here to finish something." Sarah nodded. He closed the folder slowly. "You have enough here to walk away with everything that is rightfully yours, possibly more, but only if we do this correctly." "What do we do?" Sarah asked. "We let him think he has already won," Reynolds replied. "We let him talk. We let him show who he really is. And when the time is right, we place the truth in front of the court." Sarah felt something she had not felt in weeks. Control. For the first time since the receipt, the future no longer looked dark. It looked precise. Michael arrived at the courthouse as if he were walking into a celebration instead of a divorce hearing. His suit was tailored. His hair was perfect. He wore the confident smile of a man who believed the story would end exactly the way he wanted. At his side was Emily Carter, dressed too boldly for a courtroom, but just right for someone who wanted to be seen. They looked like a couple stepping into a future they believed was already secured. Sarah and David Reynolds were already seated when Michael entered. He barely glanced at Sarah. In his mind, she was no longer important. Michael's lawyer spoke first. He was loud, polished, certain. He described Michael as the provider, the successful one, the man who paid for everything. He painted Sarah as a woman who stayed home and benefited from Michael's work. Sarah did not react. Michael sat back in his chair and nodded along. He believed every word. Emily sat in the hallway, flipping through her phone, already imagining which furniture would go in the condo. The judge listened quietly. Then David Reynolds stood. He did not rush. He did not raise his voice. He simply opened Sarah's folder. "Your Honor," he said, "this case is not about emotion. It is about records." He began with the condo. He showed the inheritance Sarah received, the exact amount, the date, the transfer into Michael's account, the payment to the developer. Michael shifted in his seat. Reynolds then showed the monthly transfers, every mortgage payment coming from Sarah's account before Michael made the official payment. Michael's lawyer tried to interrupt. Reynolds did not stop. Then came the spending. Flights, hotels, jewelry, all for Emily, all paid with family money. Michael's face lost its color. Finally, Reynolds turned to the gambling. Thousands of dollars at a time, money that should have gone to the household, gone. The courtroom was silent now. Michael no longer looked confident. He looked trapped. And for the first time in months, Sarah knew he was finally seeing the truth. He was not in control anymore. David Reynolds let the silence stretch before continuing. In a courtroom, quiet can be louder than any argument. "Your Honor," he said, "what you are seeing is not just irresponsible spending. It is a pattern of financial abuse and dissipation of marital assets." He handed the judge a thick stack of documents. "These records show that Michael Thompson used joint funds to finance gambling and an extramarital relationship while presenting himself as the sole provider." Michael's lawyer was now flipping through his papers, his confidence gone. There was nothing there that could compete with bank statements and transaction histories. Reynolds moved slowly, carefully, as if placing each piece on a chessboard. "Here are the transfers to offshore betting accounts. Each one lines up with Michael's bonus payments. This was not entertainment. This was compulsion." Michael tried to speak, but the judge raised a hand. Then Reynolds held up the jewelry receipt. $5,000 for a bracelet, purchased during a workday, given not to his wife but to Miss Emily Carter. He placed a printed photo on the table. "This is that same bracelet on Emily's wrist, posted on social media, the very night it was purchased." Michael's shoulders slumped, and finally Reynolds said, "There is the matter of income." Sarah Thompson, as an accountant, reviewed Michael's work-related deposits and compared them to his reported salary. The numbers did not match. Reynolds passed more pages to the judge. "These show payments routed through third-party accounts that were never reported, funds that were not taxed, funds that went directly into Michael's personal use." Michael's lawyer sat down heavily. "We are not here to pursue criminal charges," Reynolds said. "But this court must understand that Michael's claimed income is not only exaggerated, but partly illegal." Michael stared at Sarah across the room. He had thought her quiet meant ignorance. He had been wrong. The judge removed her glasses and studied the documents. When she looked back up, her expression had changed. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "you have presented yourself as the victim in this marriage. The records tell a very different story." Michael swallowed. "The court will take a brief recess," the judge continued. "When we return, I will issue a ruling." As everyone stood, Michael finally turned to Sarah. "What did you do?" he whispered. Sarah closed her folder and met his eyes calmly. "I did the accounting," she said. "Nothing more, nothing less." When the judge returned, the room felt smaller. The air was heavy with expectation. She did not speak slowly. She did not soften her tone. "The condo," she said, "is recognized as the separate property of Sarah Thompson. It is not subject to division." Michael's head dropped. The court further finds that Michael Thompson dissipated marital assets through gambling and gifts to a third party. He is ordered to reimburse Sarah Thompson for half of the proven losses. Michael's lawyer did not look up. "The vehicle purchased during the marriage will remain with Michael along with the remaining loan obligation." With each sentence, Michael's future grew narrower. Sarah did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply breathed. Outside the courtroom, Emily was waiting. Her patience vanished when she saw Michael's face. "Did we win?" she asked. Michael shook his head. Emily stepped back as if he had become someone else. "You said there was money," she snapped. "You said we would live well." Michael had no answer. Emily turned and walked away without looking back. Minutes later, Michael's phone rang. It was his company. The investigation Sarah had set in motion had already begun. By the time Michael left the courthouse, he no longer had a job, a home, or a future he recognized. Sarah walked past him without stopping. Some endings do not need words. Sarah stepped outside into the cool air and felt something she had not felt in a long time. Lightness. The sky was gray, but for the first time it did not feel heavy. It felt open. David Reynolds shook her hand at the courthouse steps. "You handled yourself well," he said. "Most people let emotion ruin their case. You let truth do the work." Sarah smiled. "Numbers never lie," she replied. She walked to her car alone, not lonely. The condo was hers. The silence waiting inside it was hers. The future was hers. Michael had wanted freedom without responsibility. He got it. Sarah had wanted fairness. She earned it. This is what revenge really looks like. Not shouting, not destruction, but patience, preparation, and the courage to let the truth speak when it matters most. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to like and share it. Someone out there may need to hear that quiet strength still wins. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I read every message. And if you want more stories about people who took their power back, subscribe to The Art of Revenge. Because sometimes the strongest move is not fighting louder. It is staying calm until the final balance is settled.